I've always been a sucker for autumn in Spokane. The crisp air, the changing leaves, and the promise of a new fashion season usually fill me with excitement. But this year, as I stood in my studio surrounded by half-finished sketches and discarded fabric swatches, I felt nothing but dread. My autumn collection showcase was weeks away, and I had absolutely jack shit to show for it. "Christina, darling, you need to get out of this funk," I muttered to myself, running a hand through my messy brunette hair. At 52, I'd been in the fashion game long enough to know that creative blocks happen, but this one felt different. It felt final. Deciding that a change of scenery might do me good, I grabbed my coat and headed to the local equestrian club. I'd always found solace in the company of horses, even if I was more of a spectator these days. As I approached the paddock, my eyes were drawn to a sight that made my breath catch in my throat. A young woman, probably in her early 30s, was effortlessly guiding a magnificent stallion through its paces. Her blonde hair gleamed in the afternoon sun, and her posture exuded confidence and grace. I couldn't help but stare, mesmerized by the fluid movements of horse and rider. It was like watching a dance, intimate and powerful. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of inspiration ignite within me. Suddenly, a loud crash from a nearby stable spooked the stallion. The horse reared up, threatening to throw its rider. My heart leapt into my throat, but the woman remained calm. With a few soothing words and a firm hand, she brought the animal back under control. As she dismounted, our eyes met across the paddock. She flashed me a smile that could melt ice, and I felt my cheeks flush like a schoolgirl. "That was quite impressive," I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. She approached, leading the horse. Up close, I could see her striking green eyes and the light sheen of sweat on her brow. "Thanks," she replied, her voice warm and slightly husky. "I'm Layla. Are you a rider?" I chuckled, shaking my head. "Christina. And no, I'm more of an admirer these days. I work in fashion design." Her eyes lit up. "Christina Mitchell? The Christina Mitchell? Gosh, I love your work." We fell into easy conversation, discussing everything from equestrian fashion to the challenges of creative work. As we talked, I couldn't help but notice the way the fading sunlight caught her hair, or how her laugh seemed to brighten the whole world around us. "You know," Layla said, a mischievous glint in her eye, "I'm actually working on my graduate thesis in sociology. It's about successful same-sex marriages. I don't suppose you'd be interested in being interviewed?" I hesitated, memories of past relationships flashing through my mind. "I'm not sure I'd be much help," I admitted. "My track record isn't exactly stellar." She placed a gentle hand on my arm, sending a jolt through my body. "Sometimes the most interesting stories come from the challenges we face. Think about it." As I watched her lead the horse away, I realized two things. First, my creative block had vanished, replaced by a flood of ideas inspired by the grace and power I'd witnessed. And second, I was in serious trouble, because for the first time in years, I felt the dangerous stirring of attraction. "Damn it, Christina," I muttered to myself as I headed back to my car. "You're too old for this shit." But even as I tried to talk myself out of it, I knew I'd be calling Layla about that interview. After all, what harm could come from a little academic research? Little did I know, that chance encounter at the equestrian club was about to change everything. I'd like to say I held out for at least a week before calling Layla, but that would be a damn lie. 3 days after our encounter at the stables, I found myself dialing her number with shaky hands. "Hello?" Her voice was just as I remembered, warm and slightly husky. "Layla, it's Christina Mitchell, from the equestrian club?" I winced at how uncertain I sounded. "Christina, I'm so glad you called." The genuine excitement in her voice eased my nerves a bit. "Have you thought about my proposal?" I took a deep breath. "I have. And against my better judgment, I'm willing to be interviewed for your thesis." "That's fantastic." She paused, and I could almost hear the wheels turning in her head. "How about we meet for coffee tomorrow to discuss the details?" And just like that, I had a date. Well, not a date. An academic meeting. Gosh, I needed to get my head on straight. The next day, I found myself fussing over my appearance like a teenager before prom. I settled on a casual yet chic outfit, designer jeans, a soft cashmere sweater, and my favorite boots. Professional, but not trying too hard. At least, that's what I told myself. Layla was already at the coffee shop when I arrived, looking effortlessly beautiful in a simple sundress. She stood to greet me, and I was struck again by how tall she was, nearly eye level with me in her flats. "I'm so glad you agreed to this," she said as we sat down. "Your perspective could be invaluable to my research." I raised an eyebrow. "Even though I'm not exactly a shining example of marital bliss?" She leaned forward, her green eyes intense. "Especially because of that. Success isn't just about happy endings, it's about the journey." As she outlined her research goals, I found myself captivated, not just by her beauty, though that was certainly distracting, but by her passion and intelligence. She spoke about her thesis with the same fire I once had for fashion. "So," I said, taking a sip of my latte, "what exactly do you want to know?" What followed was the most engaging, exhausting, and emotionally raw conversation I'd had in years. Layla's questions were thoughtful and probing, drawing out memories and feelings I'd long buried. I told her about my first marriage, how we'd been so young and idealistic, thinking love could conquer all, about the slow disintegration of trust and intimacy, about my second marriage to Margaret, which had ended in a bitter divorce that left me gun-shy about relationships. "It's not easy," I admitted, surprised by my own candor. "Being a successful woman in a high-pressure industry, trying to balance career and personal life, add being gay to the mix, and it sometimes feels impossible." Layla nodded, her expression sympathetic. "But you've achieved so much. Your designs are celebrated worldwide." I laughed bitterly. Success in business doesn't always translate to success in love. As the afternoon wore on, our conversation drifted from the academic to the personal. I found myself sharing stories I hadn't told anyone in years, about my childhood in a small town, my struggle to come out, my dreams for the future. In turn, Layla opened up about her own life, her journey of self-discovery in college, her passion for horseback riding, her hopes for her thesis and beyond. I was struck by how much life experience she had, despite our age difference. Before I knew it, the sun was setting, casting a warm glow through the coffee shop windows. We'd been talking for over 4 hours. "Shit," I muttered, glancing at my watch. I completely lost track of time. Layla's smile was apologetic, but her eyes were sparkling. "I'm so sorry for keeping you so long. But I have to say, this has been incredibly helpful for my research." As we gathered our things to leave, an awkward tension settled between us. I knew I should say goodbye and walk away, but something held me back. "Listen," I found myself saying, "I have a bottle of really good wine back at my place. If you're interested, we could continue this conversation somewhere more comfortable." The moment the words left my mouth, I wanted to take them back. What was I thinking? This was supposed to be a professional interaction, not whatever this was turning into. But Layla's face lit up. "I'd love that," she said softly. As we walked to my apartment, I tried to remind myself that this was still about her thesis, that I was just being a thorough interview subject, that the flutter in my stomach when our hands accidentally brushed was nothing more than nervous energy. But deep down, I knew I was in trouble, because for the first time in years, I was letting someone see the real me, and it was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything I thought I knew about love, age, and second chances. The weeks following my marathon interview session with Layla passed in a blur of creativity and confusion. My studio, once a testament to my creative block, was now alive with energy. Sketches littered every surface, fabrics in rich autumn hues draped over mannequins, and the air buzzed with possibility. But amidst this creative renaissance, I couldn't shake thoughts of Layla. Her laugh, her keen insights, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her research, it all haunted me in the best and worst ways. We'd met a few more times for her thesis, each encounter leaving me more conflicted than the last. I told myself it was just academic fascination, nothing more. But who was I kidding? It was during one of these moments of self-delusion that I made what was either the best or worst decision of my career. "I want you to model for my new collection," I blurted out over coffee one afternoon. Layla's eyes widened in surprise. "Me? But I'm not a professional model." I waved my hand dismissively. "That's exactly why I want you. You embody the spirit of this collection: strength, grace, intelligence. Plus, I added with a wink, you're not hard on the eyes. She blushed, and I felt a little thrill at being able to fluster her. I don't know, Christina, wouldn't it complicate things? Oh, if she only knew how complicated things already were in my head. It's just business, I lied smoothly, and it would be a huge help to me. After some more cajoling, she agreed, and we set up a fitting session for the following week. The day of the fitting, I was a bundle of nerves. My assistant, Sarah, eyed me suspiciously as I rearranged the studio for the 5th time. Everything okay, boss? She asked, raising an eyebrow. Fine, I muttered, adjusting a mannequin unnecessarily. Just want everything perfect for our new model. When Layla walked in, all the air seemed to leave the room. She was dressed casually in jeans and a t-shirt, but she might as well have been wearing couture for the effect she had on me. Hi, she said softly, looking around the studio with wide eyes. This is amazing. I cleared my throat, trying to find my professional demeanor. Welcome to where the magic happens. Shall we get started? The next hour was exquisite torture. I helped Layla into various pieces from the collection, my hands trembling slightly as I adjusted fabric and pinned seams. Her skin was warm under my fingers, and I caught myself holding my breath more than once. This is beautiful, Layla murmured, running her hand over the intricate beadwork on a jacket. I've never worn anything like this. I stepped back to admire the overall effect, and my heart skipped a beat. The deep green of the jacket made her eyes pop, and the cut accentuated her lithe figure perfectly. You wear it well, I said, my voice huskier than I intended. Our eyes met in the mirror, and for a moment, the air between us crackled with tension. Layla turned slowly, bringing us face to face. We were so close I could see the flecks of gold in her green eyes, count every freckle on her nose. Christina, she whispered, leaning in ever so slightly. My heart pounded in my chest. This was it. The moment I'd been simultaneously dreading and longing for. I closed my eyes, feeling her breath on my lips. Christina, the fabric swatches you ordered are Oh! Sarah's voice shattered the moment like a sledgehammer through glass. Layla and I sprang apart, both of us blushing furiously. I'm so sorry, Sarah stammered, looking mortified. I didn't realize you were in a fitting. It's fine, Sarah, I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. Just leave the swatches on my desk. As Sarah beat a hasty retreat, an awkward silence fell over the studio. Layla busied herself straightening the jacket, avoiding my gaze. I should probably go, she said quietly. I have a thing. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. As I helped her out of the jacket, I could feel the wall of professionalism rebuilding itself between us, brick by excruciating brick. Same time next week? I asked, as she gathered her things to leave. Layla paused at the door, finally meeting my eyes. The vulnerability I saw there made my chest ache. Yeah, she said softly. Same time next week. After she left, I sank into my chair, head in my hands. What the hell was I doing? She was half my age, for gosh's sake. My model. My research subject. This was beyond unprofessional. It was potentially disastrous. But as I looked around the studio, at the designs she had inspired, I knew I was in too deep to back out now. Whatever this was between us, wherever it was leading, I was powerless to stop it. You're playing with fire, old girl, I muttered to myself, reaching for my sketch pad. But as I began to draw, all I could see was Layla's face, her eyes sparkling with a promise of something I hadn't dared hope for in years. Come hell or high water, I was going to see this through. God help me. The next few weeks were a delicate dance of professionalism and simmering tension. Layla and I continued our interviews for her thesis, each session revealing more layers of vulnerability than I'd shown anyone in years. Between fittings and research talks, I found myself falling deeper into a pit I wasn't sure I wanted to climb out of. It was during one of these interviews, as the autumn sun cast long shadows across my living room, that Layla asked the question I'd been dreading. Christina, she said softly, her green eyes searching mine. Have you ever been in love? Really, truly in love? I took a long sip of wine, buying time. I thought I finally admitted twice actually, But looking back, I'm not sure if it was love or just desperation not to be alone. Layla leaned forward, her notebook forgotten. What happened? And so I told her. About my first wife, how young and naive we'd been, thinking love could conquer all the obstacles the world threw at us. How we'd drifted apart, victims of our own ambitions and insecurities. Then I told her about Margaret. How we'd bonded over shared experiences in the fashion industry, how passionate and volatile our relationship had been, and how it had all come crashing down in a storm of jealousy and betrayal. After that, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, I just closed myself off. It was easier to focus on work, on building my brand, safer. Layla's hand found mine, her touch sending electricity through my veins. But at what cost? I looked at her then, really looked at her. The compassion in her eyes, the gentle curve of her lips, the way the fading light turned her hair to spun gold. And something inside me broke. Layla, I breathed, I can't do this anymore. Her eyes widened in alarm. The interviews? I'm sorry if I pushed too far. No, I interrupted, squeezing her hand. This, us, pretending there isn't something happening here. For a moment, the world stood still. Then Layla smiled, a smile so bright it could outshine the sun. Oh, thank God, she said. I thought it was just me. And then she was kissing me, and I was kissing her back. And it was like coming home to a place I'd never been before. Her lips were soft, tasting of wine and promise, and I lost myself in the sensation. When we finally broke apart, both breathless, I couldn't help but laugh. Well, I said, I guess that answers that question. Layla grinned, her cheeks flushed. I think we might need to do some more research, for academic purposes. I pulled her close, reveling in the warmth of her body against mine. I'm all for thorough investigation. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of kisses, laughter, and increasingly honest conversation. We talked about our fears, our hopes, the obstacles we knew we'd face, the age difference, my reluctance to open up, her academic career. As the night wore on, a plan began to form. We'd take things slow, keep our budding relationship under wraps until after her thesis was complete. It wasn't ideal, but it felt right. I should go, Layla said eventually, though she made no move to leave the comfort of my arms. It's late, and I have an early class tomorrow. I nodded, fighting the urge to ask her to stay. Of course. Will I see you at the fitting tomorrow? She smiled that smile that made my heart skip a beat. Wouldn't miss it for the world. After she left, I stood at the window, watching her walk down the street. Part of me was terrified of what we'd just started, but a larger part, a part I thought had died years ago, was singing with joy. The next day, I arrived at the studio early, humming to myself as I prepared for Layla's fitting. Sarah shot me suspicious looks as she helped set up, clearly sensing something was different. When Layla walked in, looking radiant in a simple sundress, it took every ounce of willpower not to sweep her into my arms. Instead, I greeted her with a professional nod, though I couldn't quite hide my smile. Ready to try on the finale piece? I asked, leading her to the changing area. The dress was my masterpiece, a flowing gown in deep burgundy that seemed to catch fire when it moved. As I helped Layla into it, my hands lingering perhaps a bit longer than necessary, I couldn't help but marvel at how perfectly it suited her. Christina, she gasped, staring at her reflection. It's incredible. I stood behind her, adjusting the fall of the fabric. Our eyes met in the mirror, and the world around us faded away. Slowly, deliberately, I leaned in and pressed a soft kiss to her bare shoulder. Layla's breath hitched, her eyes fluttering closed. Christina, she whispered. We shouldn't. I know, I murmured against her skin. But I can't help it. You're irresistible. She turned in my arms, and then we were kissing again, slow and deep and full of promise. It was reckless, foolish even, but in that moment, I couldn't bring myself to care. A knock at the door jolted us back to reality. Everything okay in there? Sarah called. We sprang apart, both flushed and breathing heavily. Fine, I called back, my voice embarrassingly high-pitched. Just adjusting the hem. Layla stifled a giggle, and I couldn't help but join in. As we composed ourselves, straightening clothes and hair, I was struck by how young I felt, how alive. We really should be more careful, Layla said, though her eyes were sparkling with mischief. I nodded, trying to look serious. You're right, absolutely. No more kissing in the fitting room. We lasted about 5 minutes before breaking that rule. As Layla left that day, giving me a secret smile over her shoulder, I knew I was in deep. This wasn't just attraction or infatuation. This was something more, something that terrified and thrilled me in equal measure. For the first time in years, I was falling in love. And God help me, I was going to see where this ride took us. Consequences be damned. The weeks leading up to my fashion show were a whirlwind of stolen moments and mounting tension. Layla and I tried to keep things professional during fittings, but more often than not, we'd end up tangled together in the back room, breathless and giddy like teenagers. It was during one of these clandestine moments that reality came crashing down around us. Christina, Layla said, her voice muffled against my neck. We need to talk about this. I pulled back, studying her face. What's wrong? She sighed, running a hand through her tousled blonde hair. Us? We're sneaking around like we're doing something wrong, and my thesis committee is starting to ask questions about my unusually close relationship with my primary subject. I felt a cold knot form in my stomach. What are you saying? I'm saying we need to figure out what this is, she said, her green eyes intense. Because I'm falling for you, Christina. Hard. And I need to know if you're all in, or if this is just a fling for you. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Was I all in? Could I be at my age with all my baggage? Layla, I started, but she cut me off. No, don't answer now. Think about it. Really think about it. Because I can't do halfway. Not with you. She kissed me softly, then slipped out of the room, leaving me alone with my thoughts and fears. The next few days were torture. I threw myself into preparations for the show, avoiding Layla's calls and texts. I told myself I was just busy, but deep down, I knew I was running scared. It all came to a head the night before the preview show. I was at the studio late, making last-minute adjustments, when Sarah burst in. Christina, she said, her face pale. There's someone here to see you. Before I could ask who, a familiar figure strode into the room. My heart dropped to my stomach. Hello, Christina, said Margaret, my ex-wife, looking as sleek and predatory as ever. It's been a while. I stood frozen, unable to process what was happening. Margaret, what are you doing here? She smiled, that same smile that used to make my knees weak and now just made me feel ill. I heard about your big comeback show. Thought I'd stop by for old time's sake. As if on cue, Layla walked in, carrying a garment bag. She stopped short when she saw Margaret, her eyes darting between us. Oh, Margaret purred, her gaze raking over Layla appreciatively. And who's this lovely creature? I felt a surge of protectiveness. This is Layla, my model and friend. Layla's face fell at the word friend, and I knew I'd screwed up. Margaret, ever the shark sensing blood in the water, pounced. Just a friend? Come now, Christina. We both know you have a weakness for beautiful young things. That's enough, I snapped, finding my voice at last. You need to leave, Margaret, now. She held up her hands in mock surrender. Fine. I can see I'm interrupting something, but do be careful, dear. Mixing business and pleasure never ends well. We should know. With a final smirk, she sauntered out, leaving a wake of tension behind her. The moment she was gone, Layla rounded on me. Friend? She hissed. Is that all I am to you? Layla, please, I started, but she cut me off. No, I get it. You're scared. You're letting your past dictate your future. Well, guess what? I'm scared too. But I'm here, Christina. I'm all in. And if you can't say the same, then maybe we should just call this what it is, a mistake. Her words hit me like a slap. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, that I was all in too. But the words stuck in my throat, choked by years of fear and self-doubt. Layla nodded, her eyes filling with tears. That's what I thought, she said softly. Then she turned and walked out, taking a piece of my heart with her. I stood there, shell-shocked, until Sarah cautiously approached. Boss, are you okay? I shook my head, fighting back tears of my own. No, Sarah, I'm really not. The next day was the preview show, and it was a disaster. My mind wasn't on the clothes or the critics. All I could think about was Layla, and how I'd let my fear push away the best thing that had happened to me in years. I was in the middle of presenting my finale piece when I saw her. Layla was standing at the back of the room, looking stunning in a simple black dress. Our eyes met, and I felt my carefully constructed walls crumble. In that moment, I made a decision. To hell with fear, to hell with the past. This woman was my future, and I'd be damned if I let her go without a fight. I abandoned my presentation mid-sentence, striding purposefully towards Layla. The crowd murmured in confusion, but I didn't care. "Christina, what are you doing?" Layla whispered as I reached her. I took her hands in mine, ignoring the flashing cameras and curious onlookers. "Something I should have done a long time ago," I said. Then I kissed her, pouring every ounce of love and longing I felt into it. When we broke apart, both breathless, I cupped her face in my hands. "I'm all in, Layla. I love you, and I don't care who knows it." Her smile was like the sun breaking through clouds. "It's about damn time," she said, pulling me in for another kiss. The room erupted in a mix of applause, gasps, and furious whispering. I knew there would be consequences. My conservative clients would be scandalized, the press would have a field day. But with Layla in my arms, none of that mattered. For the first time in years, I felt truly, completely alive, and I was ready to face whatever came next, as long as we faced it together. The aftermath of my impromptu declaration of love was, to put it mildly, a shitstorm. The fashion world buzzed with gossip, my phone rang off the hook with calls from reporters and disgruntled clients, and my inbox overflowed with everything from congratulations to hate mail. But through it all, Layla stood by my side, her hand firmly in mine. "Are you sure you're okay with this?" I asked her one evening as we curled up on my couch, hiding from the world. "Your thesis committee." She silenced me with a kiss. "My thesis is the least of my worries right now. I'm more concerned about you. How are you holding up?" I sighed, nestling closer to her. "Honestly, I'm terrified, but also relieved, like I've been holding my breath for years and can finally exhale." Layla ran her fingers through my hair, a gesture that never failed to soothe me. "I'm proud of you, you know. It takes guts to put yourself out there like that." I chuckled. Or insanity. The jury's still out on which it was. As the days passed, the furor began to die down. My more open-minded clients rallied around me, praising my bravery. The progressive fashion magazines hailed me as an icon for older lesbians. And slowly, surely, life began to settle into a new normal. But of course, just when things were looking up, the other shoe had to drop. It was a crisp autumn morning, and I was in my studio sketching ideas for my next collection. Layla was curled up in an armchair nearby, nose buried in a sociology textbook. The domesticity of it all made my heart swell. Then my phone rang. It was Sarah. "Boss," she said, her voice tight with worry, "you need to see this." She sent me a link to a gossip blog. The headline made my blood run cold. "Fashion Maven's Young Lover, Gold Digger, or PhD Fraud." The article was a hatchet job, full of insinuations and half-truths. It suggested that Layla was using me for my money and connections, that our relationship had compromised the integrity of her research. There were even quotes from anonymous sources, hinting at academic misconduct. I felt the panic rising in my chest, memories of past scandals and betrayals flooding back. But then I felt Layla's hand on my shoulder, and I remembered I wasn't alone this time. "It's bullshit," she said firmly, her eyes flashing with anger as she read the article. "We'll fight this." And fight we did. We released a joint statement refuting the claims. Layla's thesis advisor came to her defense, praising her work ethic and integrity. My lawyer threatened the blog with a libel suit. But the damage was done. The whispers followed us everywhere. At fashion events, I caught people staring, their expressions a mix of pity and judgment. Layla's fellow students treated her with a new wariness, as if her success was suddenly suspect. It all came to a head one night after a particularly grueling day of damage control. We were in my apartment, both emotionally exhausted. "Maybe," I said hesitantly, hating myself for even thinking it, "maybe we should cool things off for a while. Just until your thesis is done. To protect your reputation." Layla stared at me, her green eyes wide with hurt. Is that what you want?" "Of course not," I said, my voice cracking. "But I can't bear the thought of ruining your career before it's even started. Not because of me." She was quiet for a long moment, and I felt my heart breaking. Then she took my face in her hands, forcing me to look at her. "Christina Mitchell," she said, her voice low and intense. "I love you. Do you hear me? I love you. And I'm not going anywhere. Not because of some sleazy blog, not because of academic politics, not because of anything. I choose you. I choose us." And then she was kissing me, fierce and passionate, and I felt something inside me give way. All the fear, all the doubt, all the self-loathing I'd carried for years, it all melted away in the face of her love. When we finally came up for air, I rested my forehead against hers. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm so sorry for doubting us even for a second." She smiled, that radiant smile that never failed to take my breath away. "It's okay. We're in this together, remember? For better or worse." "For better or worse," I echoed, marveling at how right it felt to say those words. That night, as we lay tangled together in my bed, I found myself opening up in a way I never had before. I told Layla about my deepest fears, my secret dreams, the parts of myself I'd kept hidden for so long. And in return, she shared her own vulnerabilities, her insecurities about our age difference, her worries about living up to her family's expectations, her fear of losing herself in our relationship. As the first light of dawn crept through the windows, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known in years. Yes, we had challenges ahead. Yes, the world might not understand or accept us. But we had each other, and that was enough. "Layla," I said softly, tracing the curve of her cheek. She murmured, her eyes still closed. "Thank you. For loving me. For believing in us." She opened her eyes, smiling sleepily. "Always," she said simply. And in that moment, I knew. This was it. This was the love I'd been waiting for all my life. And come hell or high water, I was going to fight for it with everything I had. As we drifted off to sleep, I made a silent vow. To love her fiercely, to support her dreams, to be the partner she deserved. Because Layla Clark had given me a second chance at love, and I'd be damned if I was going to waste it. The months following our public outing were a whirlwind of challenges and triumphs. Layla and I had weathered the initial storm of gossip and criticism, emerging stronger and more united than ever. But as the dust began to settle, we found ourselves facing a new set of obstacles. My fashion empire, once seemingly unshakable, was feeling the tremors of controversy. Conservative clients, uncomfortable with my newly public sexuality, began to distance themselves. Invitations to exclusive events became scarcer, and I could feel the subtle shift in the industry's attitude towards me. One particularly brutal morning, I found myself staring at a scathing review of my latest collection in a prominent fashion magazine. The critic, who had once praised my work effusively, now dismissed it as tired and lacking inspiration. The subtext was clear. My personal life had become a distraction from my art. I was still brooding over the review when Layla breezed into my studio, her face flushed with excitement. "Christina, you won't believe what happened," she exclaimed, then paused, taking in my expression. "What's wrong?" I handed her the magazine wordlessly. As she read, her brow furrowed, and I could see the fire igniting in her eyes. "This is bullshit," she declared, tossing the magazine aside. "Your work is as brilliant as ever. They're just looking for a reason to tear you down." I sighed, running a hand through my hair. Maybe they're right. Maybe I've lost my edge. Layla took my face in her hands, forcing me to meet her gaze. "Christina Mitchell, you listen to me. You are a visionary. Your designs are transforming the industry. Don't let some small-minded critics make you doubt yourself." Her words warmed me, but the doubt still lingered. "And what about you?" I asked softly. "How's your thesis coming along?" A shadow passed over her face, and I knew I'd hit a nerve. "It's complicated," she admitted. "My committee is concerned about my objectivity. They're worried our relationship has compromised my research." My heart sank. This was exactly what I'd been afraid of, that our love would derail her promising career before it even began. "Layla," I started, but she cut me off with a fierce kiss. "Don't you dare suggest we cool things off again," she warned. "We're in this together, remember?" I nodded, drawing strength from her determination. Together, I echoed. The next few weeks were a delicate balancing act. By day, I threw myself into my work, determined to prove the critics wrong with my most innovative collection yet. By night, I supported Layla as she battled academic politics and rewrote entire sections of her thesis to address her committee's concerns. It was exhausting, but there was a strange exhilaration to it all. For the first time in years, I felt truly alive, truly challenged, and having Layla by my side made even the toughest days bearable. But just when we thought we'd found our rhythm, life threw us another curveball. It was a lazy Sunday morning, and we were lounging in bed, enjoying a rare moment of peace. Layla was scrolling through her phone when she suddenly sat bolt upright, her face pale. "Oh gosh," she whispered. "What is it?" I asked, immediately on alert. She handed me her phone wordlessly. It was open to a tabloid website, emblazoned with the headline, "Fashion Icons Cradle-Robbing Romance, The Sordid Details." The article was a masterpiece of sensationalism, filled with lurid speculation about our sex life and thinly veiled accusations of impropriety. But what made my blood run cold were the photos, intimate snapshots of Layla and me in what we thought were private moments. "How did they get these?" Layla asked, her voice shaking. I felt a surge of protective rage. "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." The next week was a blur of frantic phone calls and meetings with lawyers. We managed to get the most explicit photos taken down, but the damage was done. The story had gone viral, spawning countless memes and think pieces about age gaps in relationships. The professional fallout was swift and brutal. Several of my remaining conservative clients severed ties completely. A major department store pulled my line from their shelves. And Layla's thesis advisor strongly suggested she consider changing her research topic to avoid any appearance of impropriety. It all came to a head one evening as we sat in my living room, surrounded by legal papers and unanswered emails. Layla was uncharacteristically quiet, staring out the window with a distant expression. "Maybe," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe I should drop out." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "What? No, absolutely not. Layla, you've worked too hard for this." She turned to me, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "But at what cost, Christina? Look at what this is doing to your career, to your reputation. I can't bear the thought that I'm the reason for all this trouble." I moved to her side, pulling her into my arms. "Listen to me," I said fiercely. "You are not trouble. You are the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I won't let you sacrifice your dreams for me." She buried her face in my neck, and I could feel her tears soaking through my shirt. "I just don't know what to do," she confessed. "I feel like no matter what choice I make, I'm letting someone down." I stroked her hair, my mind racing. We couldn't go on like this, constantly on the defensive, always waiting for the next attack. Something had to change. And then, like a bolt of lightning, inspiration struck. "I have an idea," I said slowly. "But it's a bit crazy." Layla pulled back, looking at me with a mix of curiosity and trepidation. "How crazy are we talking?" I took a deep breath. "What if we take control of the narrative? Go public with our story, on our terms. No more hiding, no more apologizing. We show the world what real love looks like, age difference be damned." She was quiet for a long moment, and I could almost see the wheels turning in her brilliant mind. Then, slowly, a smile spread across her face. "That is crazy," she said, "and I love it." We stayed up all night, planning our strategy. By dawn, we had a battle plan that would either salvage our reputations or blow up in our faces spectacularly. But for the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. As the sun rose over the city, Layla turned to me, her eyes shining with determination. "Whatever happens," she said, "we face it together." I kissed her softly, marveling at the strength of this remarkable woman. "Together," I agreed. Little did we know, our greatest challenge, and our greatest triumph, was just around the corner. The day of reckoning arrived with the crisp chill of early autumn. The venue for the Spokane Fashion Week was abuzz with anticipation, the air thick with perfume and whispered gossip. I stood backstage, my heart pounding so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. "You ready for this?" Layla asked, squeezing my hand. I took a deep breath, drinking in the sight of her. She was radiant in one of my designs, a sleek burgundy gown that made her look like a goddess. As ready as I'll ever be, I replied. This wasn't just another fashion show. This was our stand, our moment to reclaim our narrative, and I'd be damned if I was going to let fear hold me back any longer. As the lights dimmed and the music swelled, I stepped out onto the runway. The crowd fell silent, all eyes on me. I could feel the weight of their judgment, their curiosity, their expectations. "Good evening," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Before we begin the show, I have something I'd like to say." A murmur rippled through the audience. This wasn't part of the program. For the past few months, my personal life has been the subject of much speculation and criticism. Some of you have questioned my judgment, my integrity, even my ability to design. Well, I'm here to set the record straight. I paused, scanning the crowd. I could see Margaret in the front row, her expression a mixture of surprise and something that looked almost like respect. Yes, I fell in love with a woman half my age. Yes, it's complicated and messy and not what anyone expected. But you know what? It's also the most real, most honest thing I've ever experienced. I gestured for Layla to join me, and she stepped out, her head held high. The flashbulbs went crazy, but I barely noticed. "This is Layla Clark," I continued, taking her hand. "She's brilliant, compassionate, and she challenges me to be better every single day. Our love may not fit into your neat little boxes, but it's ours, and we're done apologizing for it." Layla squeezed my hand, and I drew strength from her touch. To those who say I've lost my edge, that I'm distracted, you're right, I am distracted. Distracted by joy, by passion, by a love I never thought I'd find. And you know what? It's made me a better designer. With a nod to Sarah backstage, the first model emerged, wearing a piece from my new collection. The audience gasped audibly. Gone were the safe, commercially viable designs they'd come to expect from me. In their place were bold, avant-garde creations that pushed the boundaries of fashion. Each piece was a testament to love, to defiance, to the beauty of the unexpected. As the models continued to strut down the runway, I turned back to the audience. This collection is called Unapologetic. It's for everyone who's ever been told their love is wrong, their dreams are impossible, or their time has passed. It's a reminder that life doesn't end at 50, that passion knows no age limit, and that true style comes from being unabashedly yourself. The final model emerged, wearing a show-stopping wedding gown that seamlessly blended traditional and modern elements. The crowd was on their feet, applauding wildly. I turned to Layla, my heart so full I thought it might burst. "Speaking of being unapologetically ourselves," I said, loud enough for the microphone to pick up. Then, to the shock of everyone present, including Layla, I dropped to one knee. "Layla Clark," I said, pulling out a ring I'd been carrying for weeks. "You've turned my world upside down in the best possible way. Will you marry me?" For a moment, the world stood still. Then Layla's face broke into the most beautiful smile I'd ever seen. "Yes," she said, her voice choked with emotion. 1,000 times yes." As I slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her in for a kiss, the room erupted in cheers. Even the most hardened fashion critics were wiping away tears. The aftermath was a whirlwind. My collection was hailed as a triumphant return to form, with orders pouring in from around the world. Layla successfully defended her thesis, her committee praising her for her rigorous methodology and unique insights. But the real victory was personal. As we stood at the Spokane Equestrian Club months later, exchanging vows in front of our friends and family, I realized we'd won something far more precious than professional accolades. We'd won the right to love openly, honestly, without shame or apology. "I do," I said, looking into Layla's eyes, seeing our future reflected there. "I do," she echoed, her smile outshining the sun. As we sealed our vows with a kiss, I silently thanked whatever twist of fate had brought this amazing woman into my life. We'd faced judgment, scandal, and our own fears, and we'd come out stronger for it. Later, as we danced under the stars, Layla leaned in close. "So, Mrs. Mitchell Clark," she murmured, "was it worth it? All the drama, all the struggle?" I pulled her closer, breathing in the scent of her hair. "Every damn second," I replied. "I'd do it all again in a heartbeat." She laughed, that joyous sound that never failed to make my heart skip a beat. "Good," she said, "because we've got a lifetime of adventures ahead of us." As we twirled under the autumn sky, surrounded by the love and support of those who mattered most, I knew she was right. This wasn't an ending, it was a beautiful beginning. And I couldn't wait to see where our love would take us next.